What does it feel like to date twin sisters at the same time? My kept campus belle girlfriend and her younger sister pretended to be the same person and dated me. The two of them worked in shifts. The cold, aloof older sister took the day shift. The cute younger sister took the night shift. I saw bullet comments saying, the younger sister would really do anything for her sister's happiness, to keep the male supporting role from discovering that the older sister is out on a date with the male lead. She endures the disgust and clings to the male supporting role at night. So pitiful. I am the male supporting role. And yet, not only was I not angry, I was even more excited. Buy one, get one free. Why would I even bother choosing? At night, I said to the cute younger sister, we've been together for 3 months now. Shouldn't we take things a step further? She froze. I played dumb and said, didn't you agree during the day? During the day, I said to the cold, aloof older sister, you're so well behaved at night. I like that version of you more. The older sister was furious. Chapter 1. I noticed something was off about Freya one night. She was usually cold and distant, but that evening she took off her coat, revealing a white, tight-fitting camisole. She tied up her hair and squatted beside my feet, like an abandoned kitten. She clutched tightly at the hem of my clothes. Sniffling, she said, Gio, don't go. Her eyes were wet as she asked me to pour her more alcohol. She said, stay with me a little longer. The usual Freya always dressed herself up tightly. She constantly pressed her lips together, hugging her books with a look of resistance, saying she needed to hurry back for self-study. It never felt like dating, more like she was just dealing with some foolish nouveau riche who sponsored her tuition. I rubbed her head and said gently, you're about to miss the dorm curfew. I'll drive you back to school. When she heard that, she suddenly hugged me tightly, pressing her head against my leg. Nervously, she said, Gio, can I stay the night here? Just one night. I was about to speak when I unexpectedly saw some suddenly appearing, magical bullet comments. They read, seriously, the younger sister pretending to be Freya is so disgusting it makes my skin crawl. Ha ha ha. Willow is really sacrificing a lot for her sister this time. My expression changed as I looked back at the woman in front of me. I slowly lifted her chin, staring at that pretty, innocent face. Young girls don't know how to hide things. Behind the clinginess, the coquettishness, and the eagerness, there was stiffness and resistance she simply couldn't conceal. If we're going to play, then let's play fair. I smiled and said, sure. I leaned in. Willow thought I was about to kiss her and instinctively dodged away, but I only kissed her forehead. She froze for a moment. My thumb gently rubbed the corner of her eye. I said, silly, I won't make you drink. Too much alcohol isn't good for your health. From her ears down to her neck, she flushed bright red. She stared at me in disbelief for a second. I said softly, after you shower, go sleep in the guest room. A battle of hearts must be fought slowly. Chapter 2. During the day, Freya looked at me hesitantly, as if she wanted to say something. She said, about yesterday. I put on a puzzled expression. What about it? Seeing that I hadn't noticed anything, Freya relaxed and returned to her usual cold demeanor. She gave a soft snort. It's nothing. I stroked my chin and observed her. At the edge of her collar, half of a red mark was faintly visible. Looks like she'd just tasted forbidden fruit for the first time, no experience covering it up. I asked, what's that? Freya frowned and pulled her collar tighter, pressing her lips together. Nothing, just a mosquito bite. The bullet comments flew by. I'm dying laughing. That's obviously something the male lead did last night. This poor little couple finally got some time to date. Yeah. Once Freya graduates in a couple of years and becomes independent, she won't need his sponsorship anymore. They won't have to sneak around. And she can finally break up with that old man. Old man, my ass. I'm only 30, at most. I'm just an uncle. I raised an eyebrow in displeasure. Freya said softly, you're jealous again. Can you stop being so suspicious all the time? I replied absent-mindedly, yeah, I'm even jealous of mosquitoes. That night, the younger sister, disguised as Freya, came again, just as expected. There was even a fake pinch mark on her neck, red and swollen. I beckoned to her. Come a little closer. I'll put some medicine on it for you. Willow leaned against me. I dabbed on some ointment and gently blew on it. Willow, who had been lowering her head in a daze, suddenly shuddered. Her ears turned red again. I said softly, don't hurt yourself like this again. Flustered, she blurted out, how did you KN? Halfway through, she hurriedly stopped herself. She only said quietly, okay, thank you, Gio. Willow leaned in closer, nestling against me, and went with the flow, lying smoothly. I just wanted Gio to care about me more, to spend more time with me, so I hurt myself on purpose. I didn't expose her. Is that so? And how am I supposed to accompany you? Willow stammered, just a kiss. I lifted her face. She thought I would only kiss her forehead, but instead, I kissed her directly on the lips. Willow's pupils shrank. I lowered my head to look at her and said gently, Open your mouth and remember to breathe. Her body trembled as she instinctively hugged me back, like a drowning person drifting with the current, panicked and helpless, clinging to me as her only piece of driftwood. Even the tip of her tongue was trembling. When I pulled away, she stared at me blankly, her chest rising and falling. I feigned confusion. It's not your first time. Why are you so nervous? Willow snapped back to her senses. I knew when to stop. Teasing her a little was enough. I smiled, stood up, and left, giving her time to recover. The bullet comments erupted. That was Willow's first kiss. Look at her, she's so disgusted she's gone stiff. Doing this for her sister's happiness really isn't easy. But some comments replied, then why does her expression look more like she's savoring it? Chapter 3. Willow and I started kissing frequently. She was passionate and loved dressing up. Her figure and looks were strikingly attractive. I liked it a lot. So I bought her many bold, revealing clothes and accessories. Like carefully choosing a coating for my own car, spend a bit of money. And in the end, the one whose eyes are pleased is still me. At first, daytime Freya would still wear some of the relatively conservative outfits I bought, just to keep up appearances and hide the truth. After a few days, though, she gave up altogether. I casually asked, where's the couple ring I gave you yesterday? Why aren't you wearing it? Freya, who had been reading, suddenly looked up. She froze. She asked, what ring? She had only gotten halfway through the sentence before forcing herself to suppress it. Swallowing all her displeasure back down, she frowned, lowered her eyes, and said, maybe I forgot. That night, Willow's index finger was still wearing that shiny couple ring. She smiled brightly and threw herself into my arms. Softly, she said, Gio, the ring you gave me, I'll wear it properly all the time. Spend more time with me, okay? I smiled and said yes. While Willow was showering, I saw her phone's chat history. Her sister asked irritably and uneasily, where's the ring? Willow replied, what ring? Didn't see it. Freya fell silent. After a few minutes, she finally sent another message. Willow, he's just a shallow, vulgar jerk. Willow replied quickly this time, I know. Sis, I'm just playing along. Don't worry about it. I have my own rhythm. You and brother-in-law should hurry up and grow old together. A long time later, Freya sent another message. This one, Willow hadn't seen yet. It read, you didn't do anything, right? Followed by a long string of question marks. I looked at the phone and smiled. I typed back, sis, we didn't do anything we shouldn't. As for what counted as shouldn't be done, and what should, based on my understanding of Freya, with her overly strong sense of pride, she probably wouldn't allow herself to ask it outright. Sure enough, Freya forced herself to hold it in and didn't say anything more. I casually deleted those 2 messages. Willow came out wrapped in a bath towel, her body still damp. I looked at her. I knew she was doing it on purpose. There was even a vague, inexplicable sense of competition mixed in. I smiled and said, want to sleep in the master bedroom? Willow hesitated for a second. The corners of her eyes reddened. She pressed her lips together and said softly, okay. Chapter 4. Willow sat on the edge of the bed like a drenched little kitten, at a loss, nervous, afraid. I saw the bullet comments wailing all over the screen. Some commented, Willow, you're not usually this spaced out. Are you really going to sacrifice yourself to this extent? Everyone calm down. Freya really hates the male supporting role. So she previously lied and said she was very traditional and wouldn't agree to that kind of thing before marriage. Surely the male supporting role wouldn't force himself on her knowing this, right? So that's how it is. Claiming to be traditional was fake. Cheating boldly behind the scenes was real. Saying she was young and a little scared was fake. Wanting my money was real. I smiled. Elementary school level tricks. Pretty amusing, actually. But I had no intention of forcing anything. What fun would that be? Luring her into wanting it herself, that's where the real fun is. Willow took a deep breath and finally made up her mind to speak. Just so you know, I won't. I spoke before she could finish. I remember you saying you had no experience and were a little scared. Don't worry, we won't do anything tonight. Willow, who had been prepared to be pestered, found all her mental drafts rendered useless. She let out an empty, disappointed oh. I patted her head and said gently, I just think you've been a bit lonely and wanted to keep you company. I want you to be happy. I want you to stop having nightmares. I want you to see me every morning when you wake up. Freya, I don't mean anything else. I just want to do my best to make you happy. I took her hand, my expression sincere. I don't know what you've been through lately to suddenly become so fragile. If it's inconvenient to talk about, that's fine. But if you really are in trouble, tell me. I want to help. Willow couldn't lift her head after hearing that. She stammered, guilt flashing across her face. In a low voice, she said, I'm sorry. I said, silly, you didn't do anything wrong, why apologize? Smiling, I kissed her. Willow looked up at me. Complex emotions brewed into a whirlwind in her eyes. Her body trembled. She instinctively parted her lips. letting me advance and conquer. This kiss was deeper, longer. I pulled her fully into my arms. What a great figure. Her skin began to burn. She said shakily, "Gio." Then, cautiously and softly, "You're too close." I smiled. "Don't worry, I don't mean anything else. I just want to give you a warm hug." The hug was tight and long. So long that Willow felt the moisture in her chest being drawn dry, almost suffocating, at such a tender, beautiful age. Some feelings can't withstand teasing. A few tentative, barely there probes, were almost enough to shatter her defenses. Finally, her eyes went hazy, her face flushed red, and she clumsily tried to entice me. "Actually, what I said before wasn't." I interrupted her again. With a sigh, I said, "You're right. What you said before is important, and I fully respect your wishes." I decisively let go of her and said, "I'm sorry, I crossed a line. Go to sleep." Willow was speechless. About 10 minutes later, in the silent darkness, Willow, her heart in chaos, unable to fall asleep, couldn't help but speak. She said, "Gio, when did we plan to get married again?" "After graduation," I said in surprise. "Not that soon. Didn't you say at least 5 years later?" 5 years. Willow took a deep breath, after she thought I had completely fallen asleep. She muttered resentfully to herself. 5 years. What was she thinking? Chapter 5. During the day, Freya didn't look happy. I smiled and asked her, "What's wrong? You were fine this morning. Why are you unhappy this afternoon?" Freya frowned and turned her head away. "Isn't being enthusiastic at night enough? Do I really have to be cheerful like an idiot all day long too?" I shrugged. Freya irritably twisted her fingers, then suddenly noticed the lunchbox in my hand. She paused and asked, "What's that?" I looked confused. "Didn't we make this together this morning? You said you wanted me to go to a concert with you and didn't feel like eating street food, so you wanted to try my cooking." Freya's brow jumped. She complained, "We never cooked together before. You always said you were busy with work and didn't have time." There was a trace of grievance and disbelief in her tone, emotions she didn't even realize herself. I smiled and said, "No choice. You're so clingy now and love acting cute so much. How could I find a reason to refuse?" Freya's breathing grew heavier. She couldn't find any words to respond. After a moment of silence, she suddenly said, "I'm not coming over tonight. Exams are coming up. I need to study tonight." I asked in confusion, "Didn't you say you wanted me to go see the sea with you tonight?" Freya's expression tightened, and she spoke quickly. "We're not going." She pressed her lips together and said with a sour expression, "I don't want to do anything tonight. I just want to study." I stared at her. Only then did she realize how strange and exposed her emotions sounded. Like a madwoman whose left and right brains were fighting each other, jealous for no reason at all. She lowered her head and said, "Sorry, I probably haven't been sleeping well lately. My emotions are a bit off." I looked at her with a smile and said, "Is that so? But the way you slept in my arms last night was really cute. You slept very soundly." Freya finally couldn't take it anymore. She suddenly looked up, a strange surge of impulsive pride driving her to blurt out, "George, let's go see the sea now. Don't go at night." After saying it, she realized she'd misspoken, yet couldn't help but double down on it anyway. "Going at night isn't interesting," she explained softly. I just smiled without saying a word. They had started fighting among themselves. Chapter 6. The car was parked along the seaside highway. Freya, sitting in the passenger seat, had been frowning and typing the whole way, seemingly arguing with someone. Her expression wavered, hesitant, annoyed, yet oddly relieved. I knew what she was annoyed about. In a moment of impulsive pride, she'd stood up the person she truly cared about and ended up inexplicably accompanying me, this older man, to look at the sea. But I also knew what she felt relieved about. The one who came with me wasn't Willow. Her younger sister hadn't completely taken over what belonged to her. Her ATM. I caught a glimpse of the conversation on her screen. Willow asked, "Sis, what do you mean? Why didn't you let me go over tonight?" Freya replied, "Don't you think you've gone a bit too far? I only asked you to keep him occupied, not to actually date him. Willow replied quickly, "I didn't. You're overthinking it. Sis, if you're free, you should hurry up and go find my brother-in-law. He just messaged me asking why you suddenly didn't come to the library this afternoon." Freya stared at the phone screen, unable to say a single word. Willow pressed on relentlessly, "I told him you went to see the sea. Sis, no need to thank me. Then another message followed. "Sis, honestly, why are you taking on so much yourself? Didn't I already say I'd help share the burden for you? How about this? Don't limit it to nights anymore. Give me the daytime too. Freya pulled a long face and slammed the phone down. Chapter 7. Freya and I walked hand in hand along the shore. A young man came running anxiously toward us from a distance. When Freya saw him from afar, she instinctively pulled her hand away. I shot her a half-smiling glance and teased, "What? Are we really that embarrassing to be seen? Freya looked slightly flustered and blurted out instinctively. No. The bullet comments buzzed. Oh my god. The male supporting role must have done this on purpose, setting it up so Freya would say something like that right when the male lead arrived. How heartbroken must our male lead be? Another misunderstanding is coming. I looked at the comments. So that Youngman was the so-called male lead. I looked over. Makoto stood about a meter away, fists clenched tightly, humiliation written across his face. His eyes made no attempt to hide the intense affection within them. Anyone watching would think I was the great villain destroying a young couple's relationship. I took the initiative and spoke. And you are? Makoto finally suppressed his emotions and greeted me politely in a low voice. Hello, sir. I'm Freya's classmate. I have something to talk to her about. Could you let us speak alone for a moment? I scratched my head. Well, maybe I should ask a little. He was being far too obvious. If I kept pretending not to see it, I'd really look like an idiot. I asked. Are you really just her classmate? I deliberately let a hint of doubt show. Makoto looked at Freya with a bitter expression, wanting to speak but holding it back. Full of restraint, the bullet comments erupted again. Why interrogate the male lead so aggressively? I assent this just bullying an honest guy. Alright, so this already counts as bullying. Got it. Then let me add a little more fuel to the fire. Freya spoke up first. He really is just my classmate. Why are you making things hard for him? I shook my head and said, Freya, you've misunderstood. I just remember you telling me at night that studying was exhausting, that you felt lonely, and that you didn't really have any classmates you could talk to. As if I'd thought of something. I smiled. But you were really cute that night. You complained for ages. Turns out you just thought I hadn't kissed you enough and insisted I kiss you a few more times. That last part was something I made up on the spot. I knew Freya wouldn't question it. With the rift already forming between her and Willow, the two of them had long since stopped cross-checking every little detail, which meant I could toy with their emotions like dogs on a leash. Makoto also knew about the twin sisters' little scheme. He mistakenly thought I was still completely in the dark, and couldn't help curling his lips in smug satisfaction. He wanted to exchange a knowing look with Freya, but the next second, he froze. Freya showed no trace of a got away with it expression at all. On the contrary, her face had gone deathly pale. She was nearly driven mad by the intimate scenes involuntarily forming in her mind. Freya bit down hard on her lower lip and said, Why is it different? I raised an eyebrow. What? Makoto's smile gradually faded as well. He looked at Freya in the same stunned confusion. Freya blurted out, Why weren't you like this before? Why was the way we got along always so boring and so cold? Why didn't you treat me like this? She'd let it slip. I kindly helped her smooth it over. Freya, what nonsense are you talking about? I am like this with you. Freya hesitated, wanting to speak but stopping herself. The trap she had set had ended up ensnaring her instead, leaving her with grievances she couldn't voice. I smiled and said, As for the little difference between daytime and nighttime, maybe it's just that you're more well-behaved at night. I like that a bit more, so I can't help but treat you better. Her face went white. Her whole body stiffened. Makoto hurriedly cut in. Freya, enough. Stop talking. Come back with me. He frowned, afraid she'd completely give herself away. But the very next second, Freya said, No need. You go back first. I still have something to say to my boyfriend. Makoto's expression changed. He stared at Freya in disbelief, gritting his teeth. He glanced at her, eyes locked tightly on me, then cursed under his breath, burning with anger. He turned and left. Freya glared at me and demanded, What do you mean you like the nighttime me more? She pouted. It's clearly the same face. She clenched her fists, feeling as though something was slipping through her fingers like sand. I said, You at night are more passionate, more considerate, and better looking. With a wicked smile, I delivered the final blow. More positions. 2. Freya froze where she stood. Her face was deathly pale, as if she'd been slapped hard across the face. She was so furious that she even began to hate her past self. Chapter 8. Willow came over at night. Naturally, she had no idea that Freya and I had staged quite a dramatic scene that afternoon. She was still relying on the pitiful scraps of information she thought she had, weaving her clumsy little lies. Willow said, Husband, even though it hasn't been that long, I've already started missing you. I pinched her cheek, letting her cling to me. All sticky and sweet, I said. As long as you want to, you can come find me anytime. I lightly tapped the tip of her nose and added, Because it's you. Willow hugged my arm and looked at me intently. She suddenly said, Is there anything we haven't done before? Let's do it together. I kissed her eyelids and said, Such a good girl. She didn't notice that the corners of her own lips had already lifted, her body unconsciously leaning closer. Used to my wandering hands, her body had developed an almost instinctive craving for my touch. I straightened up. Willow froze for a moment, finally realizing her own movements, and hurriedly sat back. A faint, secretive blush crept up to the tips of her ears. It seemed time to start drawing in the net. I said gently, "We've been together for 3 months now. Shouldn't we take things a step further?" Willow stopped short. I raised my brows in feigned confusion and asked, "Didn't you agree during the day?" Willow said urgently. "I agreed." I said. "Forgot again. You said your birthday is next week and you wanted to go out with me. And at that time, you wanted to." I fell silent, letting the atmosphere grow quiet and suggestive, leaving the meaning lingering. I smiled and wrapped an arm around her shoulders. I said, "Thank you, Freya." I kissed her while she was still dazed. "I like you, Freya." Willow finally snapped back to herself. She stared at me blankly, then suddenly said, "Say that again. Please, don't use a name. Say it to me again." Of course I indulged her. "My young, beautiful little gift." I smiled and repeated, "I like you." Willow's eyes trembled, her expression complex, as if she were afraid of waking up from a beautiful dream that didn't truly belong to her. Jealousy, anger, and unwillingness flashed by in quick succession. She suddenly grabbed my arm and said, aggrieved, Does it have to be next week?" Willow sat up, gently rubbing her cheek against my palm as she coaxed me. "Tonight, just tonight." "Okay." I hesitated on purpose. "But didn't you say during the day?" Willow's eyes reddened, as if she were about to cry. She didn't even wait for me to finish speaking. Like someone clutching a relay baton she suddenly didn't want to pass on, deciding to claim the trophy for herself. A woman's fierce jealousy drove her to seize this chance at all costs. Willow's voice turned soft, almost pleading as she acted cute. "I regret it. Isn't that allowed?" I pondered with interest. It still didn't feel quite enough. Maybe I should add a bit more fuel. Make her even more interesting, I said troubledly. "But I've already booked the hotel and plane tickets for next week's trip." I stroked her cheek and said, "Freya, you don't have to think about me. I'm not in a hurry. If you say next week, then next week is fine with me," I added considerately. "I know that for you. This is already a huge step, so I don't want to rush you." Willow bit down hard on her lower lip. At last, she began to truly beg. She said, "Please. I'm begging you, no matter what." She didn't want me to take things further with Freya, and she was even more afraid that Freya would take me away from her. She said, "I want to. I'm not unwilling. I'm the one who wants to do this with you. I know you didn't force me. I'm the one begging you." I hesitated awkwardly for a while. She started kissing me anxiously, like a worried little kitten, mixing concern with coaxing affection. She said, "Really, I'm willing. You can do whatever you want to me, please." Left with no choice, I sighed and said, "All right then." Willow was overjoyed. She threw herself into my arms and said, "That's great, Gio." Just as expected, it really was interesting. Chapter 9. The night was long. The younger sister was truly tender. I looked at Willow before me, her eyes tinged red at the corners, her skin slick with a delicate sheen, and kissed her lips in satisfaction. "You're beautiful." Her voice was broken by me, yet she still pressed me, asking, "Besides my face, what else do you like about me?" I didn't answer. I deliberately pushed her to the brink. She hooked her arms around my neck and urged me, "Say it, Gio." Only then did I speak. "I like the way you act cute. I like your body. I like everything you have with me." I paused, scratched the top of her head, and smiled. "I like you when you're wrapped in the night." Willow was fully satisfied. In this unspoken competition, she believed she'd won decisively. So when I leaned down again, she responded without restraint, letting out excited, delighted sounds of welcome. Chapter 10. But the amusing part of the joke was already over. It was time to lay everything bare. If I kept pretending, I was afraid Freya and Willow would really start thinking I was just some brainless ATM. A few days passed. The novelty faded. That morning, Willow, still half asleep, brushed her teeth in a hurry, then threw herself back into my arms, sticky and clingy as ever. Leaning in to kiss me, she said, "Gio, again." I still want more, but I suddenly looked at her phone. I said, "Looks like someone messaged you. I'll hand it to you." While passing it over, my finger accidentally lit up the screen. Willow's expression froze instantly. I looked at the latest notification, then turned to her. I said, "Freya, why is there someone saved as Freya sending you messages?" She opened her mouth. Before she could even make up a lie, I exposed the truth. I demanded in disbelief, furious beyond measure. "You're not Freya. Who the hell are you?" Willow's face went deathly pale. She stared at me for a long time before finally lowering her head. "I'm Freya's younger sister," she said hoarsely. "I'm sorry." The bullet comments exploded in shock. "It's over," he found out. "Don't panic. Maybe now the female lead can finally break up with the male supporting role." But others commented, "Then why does Willow look so regretful? She doesn't have to keep stringing the male supporting role along anymore, right?" I stood up. Willow suddenly grabbed my arm and blurted out instinctively. Don't go. I turned my head and looked at her coldly. I figured everything out. What? Are you still trying to cling to me so I won't interfere with your sister dating someone else? Willow said in pain. How did you know? At last, I had the chance to clarify the thing I cared about most. I declared righteously and solemnly. I'm not a fucking idiot. Willow had nothing to say. Panicking, she jumped up and quickly put on her clothes, speaking without thinking. George, my sister wronged you, but I didn't. You can break up with her. I'm willing to be with you. I stopped. Willow chased after me and hugged me tightly from behind. Her voice trembled with panic, almost choking as she said, break up with her. You treat her so well, and she's still in love with someone else. She has no shame. I turned around and sneered. And what about you? Weren't you in on it with her, playing me together? Otherwise, why would you even be here? Willow was left speechless. She looked at me with reddened eyes, her voice breaking. But I regret it, she said. I regretted it a long time ago. Tentatively, Willow grabbed my arm. Please give me another chance. I'm willing to make it up to you. Seeing that I didn't react, she hurriedly added, Gio, this time I'll chase you. I'll treat you 100 times better than my sister. She lowered her gaze. Please, don't abandon me. In her hand, the phone screen kept lighting up. Messages piled up silently on the home screen. They read, Freya, what are you two doing? Willow, why aren't you replying? Are you insane? Stay the hell away from him. He's my boyfriend. Freya was frantic. Those few minutes of unanswered messages felt unbearably long to her. At last, unable to hold back any longer, she hit send. Get back here now. The plan is terminated. Don't do anything else. Do you hear me? The plan is terminated. I smiled, lifted my head, and slowly nodded at Willow. Sure, I said. I'll break up. Chapter 11. I saw Freya again that same afternoon. When she realized I was still willing to meet her, she first let out a breath of relief, then immediately grew anxious and on edge. She probed carefully. These past few days, I didn't. I said calmly. That's enough, Freya. I already know everything. Freya froze. She slowly lowered her head and muttered to herself. I knew it. I knew she'd pull something like this on me. The resentment and jealousy leaking from her eyes were all redirected at Willow. As if she were saying, this is all her fault. I looked at her coldly and said, do you have anything else to say? If not, then we should never see each other again. Wait, Freya called out to me urgently, her breathing quick as she asked, can you give me one more chance? She said in a low voice, if I treat you the way she treated you, will you treat me that well too? She heard no answer, so she stubbornly took it as my tacit consent. Freya's shoulders trembled as she slowly raised her head. Awkward and stiff, she forced a smile, imitating her younger sister, Willow, but she was rarely enthusiastic, used to keeping her distance. So the smile looked worse than crying, a lofty flower lowering her head, smiling shyly of her own accord. It was, admittedly, interesting. I appraised her with mild curiosity, then withdrew my gaze. That was enough. These twin sisters were no longer interesting at all. One clung to a sense of superiority, using her lofty pride to disguise a greedy nature that wanted everything at once. The other had no principles and no sense of right and wrong, appearing to side with family over fairness, indulging her sister's cheating. In truth, it was only because none of it had affected her own interests yet, so she kept herself aloof, even colluding when it suited her. But once something she truly wanted appeared, she fought and grabbed without hesitation. Sisterhood no longer mattered, and shame was cast aside entirely. They were both pretty on the outside, but their souls were equally filthy, like tasteless scraps, fine to sample once, but nothing more. I sighed tiredly and said, Freya, if you want forgiveness, shouldn't you first sort out your mess of relationships and cut them off cleanly? I sneered. You don't seriously think your pride is so precious that just lowering your head a little will make the whole world open doors for you, do you? Freya choked, unable to respond. I said, Freya, wake up. Cheating until your neck is covered in kiss marks. You're that dirty. Who would want you? I turned around and left, never looking back again. Chapter 12. Later on, I heard that Freya and Makoto had a massive falling out, so bad it completely spiraled out of control. Freya lost her temper and shouted, if you hadn't insisted on coming to find me that day to declare your territory, how could he have refused to give me another chance? Makoto stared at her in disbelief. Freya, you told me yourself that you didn't love him at all, that you were just finding someone to help cover your tuition. What do you mean by saying this now? Freya blurted out recklessly. So what if I don't love him? He still shouldn't have been stolen by my sister. She was so angry she practically stomped her feet. It's clearly the same face. Why? Why is he so good to her? I can't understand it. Why? The fight was so ugly that word of these sordid affairs quietly spread throughout the entire school. But all of that came later. After hearing it, I didn't comment at all. Willow, who had been gossiping with me, said softly, "Gio, after hearing this, aren't you a little less angry now?" I shook my head. "It doesn't matter. I let it go a long time ago." Willow's face lit up, and she was just about to speak, when a beautifully made-up girl in luxurious clothes walked over. In a soft, sweet voice, she said, "Gio, are you done chatting? I missed you so much." Willow froze. Her face darkened as she glared at the newcomer. The girl glanced at her casually and said, "Who's this woman? She looks so fierce." I stood up and pinched the girl's cheek. "Don't talk nonsense, okay?" My new girl was very pure in her own way. As long as I bought her pretty clothes and the latest bags, she would behave obediently, sweet, attentive, and eager to please. I liked that kind of simplicity. No awkwardness, no inner conflict, no surface enthusiasm paired with secret disdain. Straightforward, a fair exchange. "Very nice." I nodded at Willow and said, "Willow, I have something to take care of. I'll be leaving first." I thought to myself, we wouldn't need to see each other again.